aspect.
So we opened the initial Russian cases in, I don't hold me to a specific date, but end of July in 2016.
When did Donald J. Trump intersect with that investigation?
Well, the investigation itself was focused on whether or not the Trump campaign may have had an inappropriate relationship or interactions with the Russian government. So this was a topic that we debated hotly amongst the investigative team, whether or not we were actually investigating the president. We weren't, of course, until we opened the case in May. But there were some on our team who felt that the mere fact that we were investigating the campaign which he was in charge of, brought us very close to having to say, essentially, that he was under investigation. Of course, he wasn't until May, but we were pretty close.
On January 20th, he becomes president of the United States.
That's right.
2017. He then gets the full presidential briefing. Does he, at that point in time, become aware that he is on the fringes, or his campaign is on the fringes of an FBI investigation?
He was aware of our concerns about Russian involvement in, not just Russian involvement in the election, but Russian support to what we in the intelligence community confidently believe was support to his campaign, particularly when we briefed him on the intelligence community assessment. That took place on January 6th. So before he was actually inaugurated.
Were you participating in that briefing?
I was not. Director Comey did that briefing.
When did you first participate face-to-face with Donald J. Trump?
I did not sit down face-to-face with the president until the evening of Jim Comey's firing.
And we now are all fairly familiar with the firing, the aftermath of the firing. And at this point in time, given everything that you know, everything that you've said, everything that you've written, would you, as a private attorney or a government attorney, be confident in taking an indictment for obstruction of justice on Donald J. Trump to a grand jury?
You know, that's a very kind of a loaded question for me, particularly coming out of my previous position. What I can tell you, Mike, is this. I was confident in May of 2017 that we had ample facts to indicate that the president may have committed obstruction of justice. That's the point that the FBI is in, right? We just decide when and what we investigate. And we do it not based on politics, not because we like the guy or we don't like the guy or we think this case would be interesting or fun. We do it because of the facts we have at the time. And at that time, it was abundantly clear to me that we had enough facts to indicate that that crime may have been committed.
Now, you said May twice. That's sort of a general standard. The crime may have been committed. Enough that you would feel confident to have a U.S. attorney
absolutely
pursue it?
Absolutely.
You were asked yesterday on ABC whether or not you believe Russians ordered President Trump to fire then FBI Director James Comey, and your response was, quote, "We don't know." Does that mean you leave open the possibility that the President of the United States was taking direction from Russia?
Absolutely. That's the possibility that exists in a counterintelligence investigation.
Do you believe, as some have suggested, that the President of the United States is a Russian asset?
You know, I can't sit here, Willie, and tell you that I believe that. What I can tell you is that I know we had good reason to open that investigation, and I'm quite confident that Director Mueller and his team will get to the bottom of that question.
Given all you know, and now you've stepped outside and you've written this book, you've put a lot of it in the book, what's your best explanation for why President Trump has seemed again and again and again to lean toward the Russians, to defend Vladimir Putin in cases when no one else would?
I wish I could explain that for you this morning, right? That's something that I think anyone either involved in this investigation or simply watching the results of what Director Mueller is doing, sits back and scratches their head over day to day. The facts are it doesn't take a surreptitious recording. It doesn't take extreme investigative techniques. All you have to do is watch the president, watch what he does, listen to what he says, and you can't help but escape those questions.
Broadly, you would say it's not a coincidence that the president is defending Russia and defending Putin.
It seems hard to imagine it's a coincidence. I think more importantly, we've never seen this before.
What's your best explanation for the president's private conversations with Putin with, I believe, no note taker, with translators and nothing else?
Yeah, I can't possibly explain that. It is a complete departure from the processes that I'm familiar with.
Okay, so 3 questions all related to the same thing.